Have you ever had a moment so perfect you wanted to bottle it? To seal it tight and keep it forever because somewhere deep down you're afraid it might be the last one? This was my last perfect morning. The sun was coming through the blinds of our downtown apartment, painting stripes of gold on the polished hardwood floors. I could smell the coffee he'd made, French roast, my favorite. He always remembered. He was humming in the kitchen that same off-key tune from some old song he loved. To anyone looking in, we were the picture. Liam and Maya, successful, in love, a partnership built from the ground up. I sat at our marble breakfast bar, scrolling through the numbers on my tablet. Our numbers, the company we built together, Viridian Innovations. It started as a sketch on a napkin in a college cafe, my tech design, his business savvy, a dream shared between two hearts that beat as one. Now it was a multi-million-dollar empire, and today was supposed to be the pinnacle, the day we signed the deal with Kronos Capital, a venture firm that would propel us into the stratosphere. Our life's work validated. He walked over, placing my coffee mug down with a soft clink. His hand lingered on my shoulder. I looked up into those hazel eyes I'd trusted for 10 years. 10 years of shared dreams, shared struggles, shared secrets. "Nervous?" he asked, his thumb brushing my neck. I smiled, leaning into his touch. "Excited. We did it, Liam. We actually did it." He kissed the top of my head. "We didn't do anything, Maya. You did. This company, it's your brain, your heart. I just helped steer the ship." That was Liam, always deflecting praise, always lifting me up. Or so I thought. That's the thing about betrayal. It never wears a monster's face. It wears the face of the person who holds your heart. It smiles your favorite smile. It speaks in the voice that lulled you to sleep for a decade. "The meeting's at 11, he said, checking his ridiculously expensive watch, a gift I gave him for our last anniversary. "I've got to head in early, tie up some last-minute paperwork with legal. Meet you there?" "Wouldn't miss it for the world," I said. He grabbed his briefcase, the one with the tiny secret stitch I'd sewn back together when it tore last year, a little piece of me holding his things together. At the door, he turned. "I love you, Maya, more than anything in this world." And I, like a fool wrapped in a dream, believed him. "I love you more." The door clicked shut. The apartment, so full of his energy a moment before, went quiet. That was the last time I saw the man I thought I married. The next time I saw him, he was someone else entirely. I arrived at the Viridian offices at 10:45. The energy was electric. Our team, the people who had poured their souls into this project, were beaming. Congratulations were already being passed around. I walked toward the large corner office, our office, with the glass walls overlooking the city. My heart was a drum solo of pure joy. But as I reached for the handle, I heard voices. Liam's voice and another, cold, calculated, unfamiliar. I paused. The door was slightly ajar, and the words I heard next, they didn't make sense. They were like shards of glass cutting up the reality I knew. Liam's voice, muffled but clear. "Once the signature is on the Kronos deal, the majority stake is automatically transferred to the new holding company. Her shares will be diluted to nothing." The cold voice replied, "And she suspects nothing?" Liam, with a soft laugh, a sound that now makes my skin crawl. "Maya, she trusts me blindly. She's in there right now, probably thinking about how we'll celebrate tonight. She has no idea the company hasn't been hers in months." The floor beneath me didn't just shift, it vanished. I was falling through open air. My hand, trembling, pushed the door open. There was Liam, standing not at our desk, but behind it, as if it was his throne. Next to him was a man in a suit so sharp it could draw blood. They looked up. Liam's face? Oh, his face. The warmth was gone. The love was gone. What looked back at me was the calm, detached expression of a strategist who had just won a game. No shock, no guilt, just a faint, polite smile. "Maya," he said, as if I'd caught him discussing the weather. "You're early." I couldn't speak. My voice was trapped under the avalanche of his words. Her shares, diluted to nothing, hasn't been hers in months. I looked from his familiar, traitorous face to the stranger beside him. What is this?" I finally managed, the words scraping my throat. The stranger extended a hand. "David Thorne, Kronos Capital. I believe you're just in time for your exit. Liam came around the desk. He didn't touch me. He just looked at me with a pity that was more brutal than any anger. Maya, Viridian needed stronger leadership to reach its next phase. The board and we've realigned the ownership structure. The Kronos deal secures it. You'll receive a generous severance, of course. A consultancy title for a smooth transition. A severance from my own company, the child of my mind and sweat and sleepless nights. The board? I whispered. Liam, I am the board. We are the board. He shook his head, a slow, regretful motion that was perfectly rehearsed. Not anymore. I've been acquiring shares through a shell corporation for the last 8 months. With the Kronos investment, I hold the controlling interest. 8 months. While I was working late to perfect our flagship product, he was in the shadows quietly building a cage for me. While I was planning our future, he was meticulously erasing me from mine. David Thorne slid a document across the desk, the Transition and Severance Agreement. My name was already typed at the bottom, waiting for a signature that felt like my own death warrant. "This is a mistake," I said, my voice gaining a fragile strength. "Liam, talk to me. What is this really about?" For a flicker of a second, I saw it. Not regret, but annoyance. Annoyance that his clean, clinical coup was getting messy, that I was bringing emotion into his perfect business transaction. "It's about the future, Maya," he said, his voice devoid of the music it used to hold for me. "A future where Viridian thrives without sentiment holding it back." That word, sentiment, it hung in the air, toxic and final. Our love, our partnership, our history, reduced to a liability, a sentiment to be removed. I looked at the man I had loved, the man I had built a life with, and I saw a ghost. The Liam I knew was dead. In his place stood a CEO who had just executed his most successful hostile takeover, our life. I didn't sign the paper. I turned, and on legs made of water and lead, I walked out of my own office, past my team, whose confused and pitying glances now felt like physical blows, out into the sterile hallway, into the elevator, down into the lobby of a building that suddenly felt like a stranger's house. The world outside was too bright, too loud. The city moved on, a river of oblivious life, while my own life had just been demolished in a 10-minute conversation. I got home, our home, but the gold stripes of sunlight were gone. The apartment was just a space filled with lies. His scent on the pillows, his toothbrush in the holder, the photo of us hiking Machu Picchu on the wall. They were all crime scene evidence. My phone buzzed. A text from Liam. Not an apology, not an explanation. "Liam, the papers need to be signed by 5 p.m. for the deal to proceed cleanly. It's better this way. Don't make it harder than it has to be." Better for whom? A clean deal. That's all I was now, a messy variable to be cleaned up. I sat there in the silent, broken shell of our dream, and as the shock began to thaw, it wasn't sadness that flooded in first. It was a different, darker, more potent sensation. It was a quiet, simmering rage, and with it came a single, clear, unwavering thought. He has until 5 p.m. I have until 5 p.m. too. To understand the depth of the fall, you have to see the height we built from. It didn't start in a sleek office. It started with 2 kids and a crazy idea, fueled by more passion than money. I was the dreamer, the coder, the designer, the one who could see the entire architecture of a program in my mind. Liam, he was the charmer, the talker, the one who could sell ice to a polar bear. When I met him in that advanced algorithms class, I was all social anxiety and messy buns. He was all confident smiles and big plans. He saw my code before he saw me. "This is genius," he'd say, peering over my shoulder. "But who's going to buy it if you can't look them in the eye?" He became my voice, my shield. He handled the professors, the early investors, the scary meetings. I built the magic in the back room. We were a perfect circuit. My creativity, his strategy. My trust, his ambition. Or so I thought. That's the thing about betrayal. It never wears a monster's face. It wears the face of the person who holds your heart. It smiles your favorite smile. It speaks in the voice that lulled you to sleep for a decade. "The meeting's at 11, he said, checking his ridiculously expensive watch, a gift I gave him for our last anniversary. "I've got to head in early, tie up some last-minute paperwork with legal. Meet you there?" Wouldn't miss it for the world, I said. He grabbed his briefcase, the one with the tiny secret stitch I'd sewn back together when it tore last year, a little piece of me holding his things together. At the door, he turned. I love you, Maya, more than anything in this world. And I, like a fool wrapped in a dream, believed him. I love you more. The door clicked shut. The apartment, so full of his energy a moment before, went quiet. That was the last time I saw the man I thought I married. The next time I saw him, he was someone else entirely. I arrived at the Viridian offices at 10:45. The energy was electric. Our team, the people who had poured their souls into this project, were beaming. Congratulations were already being passed around. I walked toward the large corner office, our office, with the glass walls overlooking the city. My heart was a drum. We're building a legacy, our legacy. They'll write about us. He believed in us so fiercely, I never thought to question whose name was on the incorporation documents he filed. I was deep in the code. He handled the business stuff. It was our unspoken rule, a partnership of equals. Viridian Innovations was my baby's name. Viridian for the green of new growth, of money, of the circuit boards we loved. He said it was perfect. Our first big break came from a Shark Tank-style competition. I was a nervous wreck backstage, my notes crumpled in my sweaty hands. Liam took them from me, smoothed them out, and looked me dead in the eyes. Just talk about the tech. Let me handle the rest. Just trust me. And I did. I always did. I did the technical demo. It was flawless. Then came the Q&A. The investors, sharp-eyed and ruthless, started drilling into the business model, the market analysis, the exit strategy, questions that made my brain freeze. Liam stepped forward. He was magnificent, charming, sharp, weaving numbers and visions into a story so compelling you couldn't say no. He got us the funding. That night, we celebrated with actual champagne. He held me close, spinning me around in that grimy garage. See, he whispered into my hair, I told you, we're unstoppable together. That was the pattern. The higher we climbed, the more I retreated into my world of code and creation, the more the outside world saw his face, heard his voice. He was the charismatic frontman of Viridian. I was the reclusive genius founder, a title the press loved and I was happy to hide behind. It felt comfortable, safe. But power changes the geometry of a relationship. Slowly, imperceptibly, the balance began to tilt. The first time I felt it chill, it was so small I brushed it off. We were at a launch party for Viridian's third product. A journalist cornered me, asking intricate questions about the AI backend. I started explaining, getting into the flow, excited to share. Mid-sentence, Liam's arm slid around my waist, a little too tight. He laughed, a loud, gracious sound. Don't let her bore you with the geeky details, he said, pulling me gently away. The important thing is it works, and it's going to make you all a lot of money. The journalist laughed. I forced a smile. Later, I asked him about it. You cut me off. He looked genuinely surprised, wounded even. Maya, sweetheart, I was saving you. You looked stressed. I was steering the conversation back to the big picture, where it matters. That's my job, to protect you from all that. And because I wanted to believe in the man who'd spun me in the garage, I believed him. I saw it as protection, not as a quiet erasure. The board meetings, I started dreading them. The language was all finance and market caps, things Liam excelled at. My contributions about product roadmap and user experience were met with polite nods, then the conversation would swiftly return to margins and acquisitions. Liam would often translate for me afterward. What they were really saying was, or the subtext there was. I started to feel like a visitor in my own company. Then came the restructuring about a year ago. Liam proposed it. To streamline decision-making as we scale for the Kronos deal, he said. It involved creating a new holding company for the majority of Viridian's assets. The legal documents were hundreds of pages thick. I was in the final brutal crunch on our new project, working 20-hour days. "Do I need to read all of this?" I asked, rubbing my tired eyes. He smiled, massaging my shoulders. "It's just legal boilerplate, my love, a formality. Trust me, it's all for the big picture. Just sign here, and we can get back to changing the world." I signed. I trusted. The man who'd once sold my dream to the world would never sell me out, would he? The signs were there. In hindsight, they were blazing neon signs. The new ultra-expensive watch he couldn't really afford on his salary, the mysterious business trips that coincided with key financial moves, the way he started password protecting his phone, which he never used to do. "Client confidentiality is getting insane," he'd shrug. I caught him once, late at night, on the balcony speaking in a low, intense voice on the phone. "She's completely in the dark. It's perfect." He saw me and quickly hung up. "A difficult investor," he explained, pulling me into a hug. "Didn't want to worry you." And I, the fool who built a castle on the foundation of his words, buried my doubts. I buried them under memories of garage celebrations, of shared dreams whispered in the dark. The brain knows, friends. The brain picks up the inconsistencies. But the heart has a powerful veto. It can convince you that the smoke you smell is just the morning fog. The morning of the betrayal, the foundation was already rotten. The castle was just waiting for the right gust of wind to collapse. And Liam wasn't just the wind. He was the architect who'd secretly replaced the stone with sand. Sitting in the ruins of my apartment, the fog of shock burned away by the fire of rage. I stopped seeing the past with sentimental tears. I started seeing it with the cold, analytical eye of a forensic investigator. Every protection, every translation, every time he said, "Just trust me," they weren't acts of love. They were strategic moves. He wasn't building a legacy with me. He was building a cage around me. He thought he knew me. The reclusive coder, the sentimental partner, the woman who trusted blindly. He thought I had nothing without him. But he forgot one crucial thing. He forgot what I built. I didn't just build Viridian's products. I built its nervous system, its secret heart. I wrote every line of its core architecture. I knew its digital veins and arteries better than I knew my own. And I always build a back door. Not to betray, never to betray. A backdoor is a fail-safe, a way to protect your creation if something goes horribly wrong. It's the emergency exit in a building you never think you'll need. I looked at the clock, 2:07 p.m. Liam was at the office, probably toasting with David Thorne, counting the minutes until 5 p.m. when my signature or my defiance would become irrelevant. He thought he held all the cards. He thought the game was over. He didn't realize I was still sitting at the table, and I had just decided to play a different game. A game where the quiet, sentimental coder knows all the rules he never bothered to learn. My phone buzzed again. Another text. This one from Anna, my lead engineer, and the only person at Viridian I'd call a friend. "Anna, Maya, just heard. Office is in chaos. Are you okay? What can I do?" A lifeline. A single thread of connection to the real world, to the heart of the company that was still, in its soul, mine. I typed back, my fingers steady now. "Me. I'm not okay, but I will be. Can you access the Hermes project server? The isolated one?" There was a pause. The Hermes project. It was my passion project, a next-gen security and data protocol so revolutionary it would make our current products look like toys. I'd been developing it in total secrecy on a physically isolated server in the basement server room, a pet project Liam dismissed as a distraction from monetizable goals. He didn't understand it, so he ignored it. "Anna, the black box in basement B? Yeah, it's off the main grid. What do you need?" I took a deep breath. The plan was forming, crystal clear and deadly in my mind. It wasn't just about stopping the chronosteal. That was a symptom. This was about curing the disease. This was about showing Liam that every move he made for the last 8 months was on a board I designed, that the kingdom he stole had a self-destruct code only I knew, and I had less than 3 hours to input it. Me, I need you to do exactly what I say, and Anna, trust me. War in the modern age isn't fought with bullets, it's fought with keystrokes. It's fought in the silent, invisible corridors of data, where a single line of code can be more powerful than an army. My apartment was now my command center, and my first objective wasn't to attack, it was to see the battlefield. Anna was my eyes on the inside. Through a secure, encrypted channel I'd built years ago, a digital whisper tube we used to complain about bad pizza, she fed me information. Anna, they've called an all hands for 4 p.m. Liam is going to announce the new direction. Kronos people are everywhere. It feels like a funeral. Me, it's not a funeral. It's a hostile takeover party, and we're about to cancel it. First, I need access. The back door to the main Viridian server. Use my old admin credentials. Architect Ghost. There was a pause. Those credentials were a joke from years back. A super admin account I'd created and then hidden deep within the system's root directory, masked as a legacy test profile. Liam, who only understood finance and front-end interfaces, would never have found it. The password was the coordinates of the cafe where we drew the first Viridian sketch. Anna's response was a single word: in. I was now a ghost in the machine of my own company. The first thing I did was not to destroy, but to copy. I initiated a silent, full system backup of every line of code, every design patent, every piece of intellectual property that was mine. It streamed to an encrypted cloud vault I controlled. If this went wrong, Viridian would be a hollow shell, and I would walk away with its soul. Next, I navigated to the financial and shareholder logs. Here, in the dry, brutal language of transactions, was the story of my betrayal. I followed the digital breadcrumbs Liam thought he'd erased. Shell Corporation transfers dated back over 8 months. The Cronus holdings he'd mentioned. It was a Russian doll of deceit. One company owning another, all funneling shares away from my name. But he'd gotten greedy. To secure the Kronos deal, he'd needed to show consolidated, absolute control. In his haste, he'd linked the final holding company to a single, centralized digital signature authority, his primary corporate digital ID. A smile, thin and cold, touched my lips for the first time since that morning. He'd built a fortress, but he'd put all the locks on one door, and I had just walked through it. Anna, I need you to go to the Hermes server, power it up, run the initialization sequence, Arachne Weave. The Hermes project wasn't just a new product, it was a paradigm. At its core was a proprietary AI-driven protocol that could map, analyze, and, if instructed, govern every data flow within a network. It could find inconsistencies, hidden links, and silent permissions. I called it Arachne's Weave. Once activated, it would spin a web of awareness through Viridian's entire digital infrastructure, and I would hold the strand that vibrated with every movement. While my digital ghost worked, I put on a performance. I picked up my personal phone, the one Liam monitored. I knew he would be. I called him. My voice, when he answered, was the perfect blend of shattered and pleading. I used every ounce of pain I felt, but I weaponized it. Liam, please, we need to talk. Not as CEOs, as us. There has to be another way. His voice was the epitome of weary magnanimity. Maya, I told you, it's done. The papers? I'll sign them, I interrupted, letting a sob crack my voice. Okay, I'll sign. You win. But not like this. Not with some stranger handing them to me. Please, let's meet. Before the 4 p.m. meeting. Just us. At our place. One last time. For closure. Silence. I could almost hear him calculating. A clean in-person signature would be better than a forced legal battle. and appealing to his ego, to his desire for a neat, dignified end to the Maya problem, was the perfect bait. "All right," he said, sighing as if granting a great favor. "3:30 at the apartment, but Maya, come ready to sign. No more drama." "No more drama," I echoed softly. "Thank you, Liam." I hung up. The clock read 3:05 p.m. He thought he was walking into a surrender. He was walking into a trap. My real work accelerated. With Arachne Weave now active and humming on the Hermes server, I had a god's eye view. I saw the Chronos Seal documents, freshly uploaded to the board's secure portal. I saw the digital signature queue, waiting for my forced electronic signature at 5 p.m., or Liam's override authorization. But override authorizations require verification. They require keys. I began to weave my own threads into his fortress. Using the architect/ghost privileges, I implanted tiny, benign-looking code snippets into the shareholder management system and the digital signature protocol. They weren't viruses, they were conditionals, new rules. Rule 1, any attempt to finalize the Chronos share transfer without the verified biometric signature, a retina scan we'd implemented for top-level security, of both primary founders, Maya and Liam, would trigger a system-wide integrity check. Rule 2, the integrity check would automatically audit the share transaction history of the last 12 months, flagging any transfers involving shell corporations for manual review. Rule 3, manual review could only be authorized by the architect/ghost admin account. I was changing the rules of his game while he was busy celebrating in the lobby. "Anna, Hermes is live. It's beautiful and terrifying. It's showing data flows I never knew existed. There's a massive encrypted stream going from Liam's office terminal to an offshore server right now." Of course there was. He was moving the final pieces, securing his ill-gotten gains. Let him. Every byte he moved was now being mapped by Arachne Weave. Me. Log it, isolate the pathway, just watch. The final piece, the public face. I pulled up the internal Viridian communications hub. At 4 p.m., every employee would get Liam's announcement. I drafted a new one, not to send now, but to have ready. The subject line, the truth about Viridian's future. I didn't fill in the body yet. The ending was still being written. My personal phone dinged. A calendar reminder Liam and Anne shared. Cronus final signing at 5 p.m., Viridian boardroom. The future begins. I deleted it. The clock on the wall ticked to 3:25 p.m. It was time to face the ghost. I stood up, my body humming with a cold electric energy. The sadness was gone. The shock was gone. All that remained was a clarity so sharp it could cut diamond. I looked at the unsigned severance agreement on my tablet. Then I opened a blank document. I typed a single sentence at the top. My counterproposal. I closed the lid. The screen went black, reflecting my own resolute face back at me. The quiet coder was gone. In her place stood the architect, and the architect was coming home to reclaim her building. He entered our home like a visiting executive, no warmth in his eyes, just the impatient focus of a man with a checkbox to tick. He even kept his suit jacket on. "Maya," he nodded, "all business. I'm glad you've seen reason. It's the best outcome for everyone." "The best outcome?" I repeated, my voice neutral. I didn't move from the window. He pulled the severance agreement from his briefcase, along with a fancy fountain pen. A new one, I noticed, not the cheap one we'd bought together. He placed them on the breakfast bar, the same bar where we'd shared coffee just that morning, a lifetime ago. "It's the same document, generous terms, a clean break. Sign here and here." He tapped the pages. I finally turned to look at him. "Before I sign anything, I have a question, just one." A flicker of irritation. "Maya, we don't have time for—" 8 months, I said, cutting him off, my gaze locking onto his. History will be kind. Now please, sign. He pushed the papers toward me. I didn't look at them. I picked up my tablet. I've drafted a counterproposal. He actually laughed, a short, incredulous sound. A counterproposal? With what leverage? Your shares are worthless in 3 hours. My leverage, I said softly, turning the tablet to face him, is the truth. On the screen, I pulled up the first exhibit, a transaction log from the shareholder registry, cleaned up by Arachne's weave. It showed a cascade of share transfers from Maya Singh to a series of numbered LLCs. Cronus Holdings LLC, Atlas Shell Group, Nemean Ventures. I read the names aloud. You were busy, but you got sloppy, Liam. All these roads, I tapped the screen, pulling up a final damning link. They all lead back to a single master account, one with the very familiar digital signature. His face went pale. The smug certainty drained away, replaced by a dawning, horrified understanding. He lunged lightly, as if to snatch the tablet, but stopped himself. Where did you get that? That's confidential board data. You breached security. I am security, I said, my voice ice. I built the walls you're hiding behind, and I just walked through them. This is just the financial trail. Would you like to see the communications trail? I swiped to the next exhibit. Encrypted email headers recovered by Hermes, sent from his private secure server to David Thorne. Dates going back 9 months. I opened one. The preview text was enough. Agree that Singh's emotional attachment to the legacy code is a bottleneck. Our plan to sideline her post-acquisition is the only path to true scalability. Liam was stone still. His breath was shallow. Those are forged. You're desperate. The digital signatures on them are yours, I said flatly, verified by the same system you used to try to lock me out, the system I designed. I could see the calculations racing behind his eyes. Deny? Threaten? Call his lawyer? But the evidence was on my screen, pulled from the heart of his own fortress. What do you want? He finally hissed, the polished CEO veneer gone, revealing the cornered animal beneath. Money? More than the severance? Name your price. We can keep this quiet. Quiet? I let out a sound that was nowhere near a laugh. You publicly fired me from my own company in front of a Kronos executive. There is no quiet. You made sure of that. I placed my tablet down and picked up his pen. I held it between us. You said this was business, not personal. So let's talk business. My counterproposal is simple. I walked to the window, looking out at the city, at the building where Viridian lived. You will go back to that 4 p.m. meeting. You will tell everyone the Kronos deal is on hold pending a full board review. Impossible. The contracts are set. David Thorne will... David Thorne, I interrupted, turning back to him, will be receiving an anonymized data packet in about 10 minutes, a preview. It will contain these transaction logs and a summary of your plan to use Kronos capital to buy out your own shell companies, effectively laundering control and misrepresenting the company's ownership structure to their investors. That's fraud, Liam. Criminal fraud. The color left his face completely. He swayed on his feet. You can't. The packet is queued, I said, checking my watch. 3:48 p.m. It sends at 3:55 unless I cancel it. So you have 7 minutes to decide. Option A, you go back, delay the deal, and agree to a neutral third-party audit of all share transactions for the past year, in which case this evidence stays between us and we negotiate my real exit, the buyout of my actual, undiluted share value, which your logs prove I still own. And option B, he whispered. Option B, I said, leaning forward slightly. I press send on that packet. I release all this data to the entire Viridian staff at 4:01 p.m., and then I walk to the SEC and the State Attorney General's office with everything. You lose the company, you lose Kronos, and you very likely lose your freedom. Your choice, business or personal. He stared at me, and I saw it. The moment he truly saw me for the first time, not as the supportive partner, the technical resource, the sentimental fool, but as an opponent, one who had outmaneuvered him in his own game, on his own board with his own pieces. His shoulders slumped. The fight left him in a rush. The CEO was gone. The con man was exposed. He was just a man who'd gambled everything and lost. The audit, it will take time. Kronos will walk, he said weakly, a last grasp at control. Let them walk, I shrugged. A company built on a lie isn't worth saving, but a company with revolutionary technology like the Hermes Project will find other investors, honest ones. His head snapped up. Hermes? That toy project? The toy project that just mapped your entire conspiracy in 12 minutes. Now, your decision. The clock is ticking. He looked at the severance papers, then at my tablet, then at the cold determination on my face. He closed his eyes, defeated. Delay the packet, he mumbled. I'll announce the delay. I picked up my phone, sent a one-word cancel command to Anna, then I looked back at Liam. Good. Now for the terms of our new discussion. Sit down. For the first time in 10 years, he followed my instruction without argument. He sat at the breakfast bar, in the seat that used to be his. I remained standing. The student had become the master, and the lesson was just beginning. He stood before them, the man who was supposed to be their conquering hero, announcing a new golden age. But the confidence was a cracked facade. I watched him through the digital eyes of the security system, my own private theater. Team, Liam began, his voice lacking its usual resonant boom. I have a brief update regarding the Kronos Capital partnership. The room was silent, expectant. Anna stood at the back, her phone discreetly in her hand, a live audio feed open to me. After further review, Liam continued, avoiding eye contact, we've mutually agreed with Kronos to pause the final signing to allow for additional due diligence on some pre-deal structuring. A ripple of confusion went through the crowd. David Thorne's head tilted, his expression turning from curious to sharply suspicious. This is a procedural delay, Liam added hastily, seeing the uncertainty. Nothing to be concerned about. Business as usual. The 5 p.m. meeting is canceled. Thorne stepped forward. His voice was calm, but carried a blade's edge. A pause was not our agreement, Liam. The terms were final. Any delay constitutes a breach of our memorandum. Liam floundered. David, I assure you, it's just a stalling tactic. Thorne cut in, his gaze sweeping the room. And I don't invest in companies where the CEO makes unilateral decisions that contradict signed agreements. He turned to address the staff. Effective immediately, Kronos Capital is withdrawing its offer, and I will be reviewing the representation of assets made to us during our negotiations. It was a public gut punch. The air left the room. Kronos wasn't just walking, they were implying fraud. The employees looked at Liam, their faith crumbling. This was my cue. On my laptop, I opened the draft announcement I'd prepared, the truth about Viridian's future. I began to type, my fingers flying. To the Viridian family, what you just witnessed is the result of a betrayal, not a business decision. For the past year, Liam Carter has been engaged in a secret campaign to illegally dilute my ownership stake and seize control of the company we built together. I attached the clearest, most damning transaction logs. I attached the email preview about sidelining me. I did not send it to the whole company, not yet. Instead, I sent it to 3 people via the internal system. 1, David Thorne. 2, the head of the Viridian legal department, a woman named Susan Choi who had always been fiercely ethical and suspicious of Liam's recent restructuring. 3, the most respected senior engineer, an old-timer named Raj, who everyone trusted. The Trojan horse wasn't me, it was the truth, and I had just delivered it inside their walls. On the camera feed, I saw David Thorne's phone light up. He glanced at it, his eyes scanning. His face, already stern, hardened into granite. He looked up at Liam, not with anger, but with a cold, professional disgust. Without a word, he turned and walked out of the office, his team following like a retreating tide. Liam watched him go, panic rising in his eyes. Then his own phone buzzed, then Raj's, then Susan Choi's, who was watching from her office glass wall. She looked from her screen to Liam and then marched out, heading straight for him. The crowd, sensing a seismic shift, began to murmur loudly. Liam tried to regain control. Everyone, please return to your work. This is a temporary setback. But Susan Choi reached him. She spoke in a low, furious voice the microphones couldn't pick up, but her body language was a shout. She pointed at his phone, then at the door Thorne had exited. Liam's shoulders slumped further. Then Raj, the gentle giant of the engineering floor, stepped forward. His voice, which was usually so kind, boomed across the now quiet space. "Liam, is it true? Have you been stealing Maya's shares?" All eyes were on Liam. The direct, simple question from the heart of the company hung in the air. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. His silence was a confession, louder than any scream. The dam broke. Anna, from the back, spoke up, her voice clear. "We want Maya back. We want the truth." A chorus of agreement arose from the team. Not a riot, but a united, determined front. These were my people, the builders, the creators. They didn't care about shell companies. They cared about integrity.